Everybody, we are live. It's 7 o'clock. It is 7 o'clock, Tuesday, July 28, 2020. We are still caught up in this pandemic. Some of us are still quarantined. We should all still be quarantined. But right now, I have the absolute pleasure and wonderful honor. First of all, I want to say how much I love this woman, because she has not only changed my life for the better, but she had given me an opportunity years ago when I first met her. And she told me a long time ago, she said, if I stay at it, if I continue to grind, and if I continue to keep God first, and I just keep at it, Brandon, is going to happen for you. And sure enough, she was right. So I wanted to just say right off the bat, thank you so much. I love you for life for that, Carmen. Thank you so much. But let me give you a proper introduction, because I always like to give my guests their introduction. You deserve that. You deserve that. So I just need you to sit back and relax. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 9th episode of Brandon Robertson's Soul Hour, and I'm featuring my dear friend, the wonderful, talented, beautiful, Grammy-nominated vocalist, international jazz star. The woman's record is immaculate, people. I hope y'all understand who I have right here in my presence, but I want y'all to sit back and relax and just listen to what I got to say. Okay, so she is originally, she was born Austin, Texas. Altadena, California is where her roots lay. Then she took her studies to Houston Towson College, which is now university, I believe. They switched over.
Yes.
And somewhere along that time frame in her early beginnings, she met a gentleman. Now, to the rest of the world, we would look at this gentleman as like the it guy. He's the icon, right? But at that time, to miss my guest here, this gentleman discovered her and said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on you, sweetheart. Let's see what this is going to be about. And I'm talking about the great Count Basie. And from there, this is where we hear of Carmen Bradford. So everybody, I want y'all to give a round of applause, virtual round of applause, Facebook shout out, show your love. I want y'all to drop them comments. Give it up for Miss Carmen Bradford on the Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. So thank you, Carmen. Oh, I love you. I love
what a great introduction. I love you too.
I'm not done yet. That was just a snippet. Wait, I got a little more. But then wait, people, see, so then she decided to take her talents elsewhere. Not elsewhere, but she expanded. She grew. And within this group, she got to work with many different artists. Wynton Marsalis, Mr. John Clayton, who I had the absolute pleasure of meeting at the Gen Conference. I was so excited to meet him because he's like one of my idols and favorite bassists. And I was just so excited because I saw him in the elevator, and I was like, man, Mr. Clayton, how you doing? He's like, how you doing? He's such a cool guy. Such a cool cat, man. But you got the legend, Miss Nancy Wilson, Shelley Berg, wonderful pianist, Freddie Cole, Benny Carter. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And I want her to talk about some of the folks. So I don't want to give it away, everyone. Please, like I said before, give a round of applause for Miss Carmen Bradford, everybody. Thank you, Carmen, for being on the show. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. What a wonderful introduction. And I love you too.
Well, I hope I did you service, because I was, I'm nervous and excited at the same time.
Don't be nervous.
Well, in all fairness, let me tell you why I'm nervous, because every time I'm in your presence, you make me feel inspired. Like I can't not feel lazy around you. If that makes sense. Like I really mean that. Like it's like, man, like Carmen does so much and she means so much to so many people, and the way her voice impacts people, like the way they listen to you. Like every time I've had the chance to share the stage with you, I have seen that firsthand. So hey, this is an honor. That's why
I do not have on waterproof mascara in my tissue. Oh, there it is. So you're gonna have to stop, honey. I can't take it.
I'm sorry. I'm just speaking. You told me to save it. You said save the good stuff on the show. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's just a pleasure and an honor to be on your show.
So Carmen, first of all, let's start off with, let me ask, how you doing? What's life like right now? I mean, we are quarantined. We are going through some stuff right now. So what's happening on
Yeah.
your end?
Well, I've been here in my house since March 1st, and my dates have been canceled and rescheduled, and trying to reschedule, and uh, I got my new black backdrop
Right,
for
right.
for moments like this,
Right,
where we've all got to put on our creative caps and figure out how to do this from where you are.
right.
Until this gets better, because we're going to be the last ones to get back to work.
Yeah. And
We
that's,
will definitely be the very last. And I'm just taking a deep breath and taking it one day at a time, because it's difficult to even sleep, just the worry
oh, I know.
involved. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
folks have babies to feed, and what are you going to do about school? And you got to go to work. Who's going to come keep your kids and stuff? It's just crazy.
Right.
So I really feel for everyone that's dealing with that. It's just not easy.
And you're up in the Georgia area. So let me ask you something. We
Mhm.
talked about this earlier, the humidity. Now, folks, folks in the Northeast and to some degree on the West Coast, if you've never grown up in the South, now let me specify the South. I'm speaking of the deep South. I'm talking about Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. What I mean, I'm talking about
Mhm.
right in the cusp of the Gulf, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain type of humidity that it infuses itself into the atmosphere. So being quarantined in our house in the South in the heat, it's not pleasant for you, probably, is it?
No, it's not. I'm not pleased today with the humidity. I had a really great hairdo. Fortunately, I took some pictures of it, so we'll pretend and I'll show you later. But I had to do my ballerina bun at the last minute
Oh
because my
man,
hair just went. But
right.
it's part of being down here.
And,
But the
and
music is good.
oh yes, how well is Cats back out playing now? Or people, or do you know who?
No,
No.
no, nobody's playing.
Okay.
No. Mm-mm.
See, I don't know
Folks are
what.
at home. Are
Yeah.
you guys playing?
Okay. I, at first, this is what happened when Florida reopened. No, people thought about it. We sort of thought
Hmm.
about it, and then a spike happened. So then all the
Right,
musicians was like, "Nah,
right.
like this is not. This is no. We're pulling no pull back. White flag. Nope, not happening."
Hmm.
So no
Hmm.
one that I know of, at least in my circle or the people that affiliated with, we're not working. We're homebody. We're trying to figure out this virtual. How have you had any success, Carmen, on the virtual standpoint of performing? Have you done any performances yet where it's strictly pure virtual and you're intersyncing
Oh
with other
no.
people? That
Well,
hasn't.
what I've done so far is a concert with jazz pianist Jeremy Montero,
Mm-hmm.
um, myself and Wynton Marsalis and Randy Brecker and Ernie Watts and a bunch of really incredible Singaporean artists.
Oh wow.
What Jeremy did was he sent me a track. He emailed me a piano track, and then I sang along with that track on looking at the iPad. I'm just singing a cappella, but of course I had headphones on, and then
Right.
I emailed that back to him, and then he added a Hammond B3, and then he's playing piano on this side of me. And so that's,
Right, right, right.
folks are doing what they have to do to make it work, but wow, it sure sounds great if you can do it.
Yeah.
If you
I
have the technical skills to do it, it's really great.
I've messed around a little bit with Soundtrap and acapella, and I've tried to figure it out, but it's a lot of thinking through it. You got to like think
Yeah,
through it because you want to make sure that whatever you syncing up is there, and then you don't have the proper software tool to make it
that's
work.
it.
So yeah, I was just curious because I actually asked one of your colleagues, Jason. I asked him that question. I said, man, how does when I watch Chad do all these videos online. Like
Oh,
he's
yeah.
so incredible at it. I'm like, and I'm watching him every day trying to figure out like, how is he doing this? This is incredible stuff because it's in real time. Some of it is in sync. He has these transcriptions where playing it. You know, that's so. Do you think that this is going to be something of the new wave for musicians and for singers? You know, since now people are afraid to have people sing in public. You know, because of
Right.
how do you feel about that?
I think we're just going to have to wear some kind of clear plexi helmet as a singer, and then go in the room with the rest of the musicians and have a hole for the microphone to go through.
Right.
I think it's getting ready to get very, very interesting. You know, and people are doing what they have to do. Chad is just the exception. I mean,
Yeah.
he is just he's a beast at whatever he does, and he is just 1,000% at whatever he does, and you know, and he really makes it look quite easy, doesn't he?
He does. He
It's
actually
like,
does.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like, let me try to do one of these transcriptions on bass. Yeah, that's not happening right now. Speaking of Chad, you know, you're part of the faculty with the RGM at the San Francisco Music Conservatory. So like that's part you're part of an elite group, and I had the honor of not only meeting your colleagues and your friends, but performing with you all at the Gen Conference this past January. And
Yes.
the camaraderie that I seen between all of you is very infectious and it's very real. You know, like between you could tell, and that's a space that I think audiences sometimes don't get a glimpse of when you see the behind the scenes, when you see how the musicians interact with each other, and then you're trying to figure out how did they know to do that on stage, or when they played that, how did you know that? And it's just kind of that thing, you know. So, what's it like working with that group with Matt Wilson and Simon and Jason? You know, Emily, what's it like working with those guys?
You know, they're wonderful, and they are all seasoned musicians. That's how it looks easy. We've all been doing this a long time, and we know what to do. You know, there's no guessing at it. It's a whole lot of practice, thousands and thousands of hours of getting your stuff together. You know, by the time you reach, you know, that game. You know, it's just professionals, and they're lovely people, and I just love all of them. Everybody's wonderful. Everybody, just really genuine.
They are really nice, and I was kind of, you know, it's funny, Carmen. I'm gonna just share this with you very quickly. When we was on stage sound checking, right, and I remember Simon was at the piano. He's talking to me and Matt, telling us what we're gonna do.
Simon
Rowe, yes, man. And he, I played something, and I went, he said, "Nah, man, don't do that. If that was cool, that's what you meant to play. That's cool. Do it again." And at that moment, Carmen, no lie, I remember you telling me that backstage when I first met you, and you said, "Brandon, if you're here, you just gonna have to like you can't be worried about you're here."
No, what I said to you was, if you're here, it's because you're supposed to be here. We're not hiring. We're not trying to bring anybody in to just do a favor to boost your career. You got that phone call and you were recommended by me because you should be there. You're a wonderful musician. That's why. You know?
Well, I appreciate that.
No, it's true. Because trust me, baby, if you couldn't play, if you couldn't swing like that and burn like that on that bass, I'd just be saying, you were so sweet.
Well,
and your babies are pretty.
Oh, man. Listen, my babies are getting big and grown and tearing up my house. I love it.
I love it. I was getting ready to say, I love hearing that.
I'll complain to my wife about it sometimes, but I love it, though. Like, low key, I'm like, man, I'm gonna enjoy it because once they hit about like 6 or 7, then I start losing interest. Like, Dad, okay.
Well, in a minute, also you'll be back on the road, hitting it hard and teaching and trying to figure that out. You know, how to figure out how to balance that.
Speaking of road, you know, not to kind of shift in this subject, because that you kind of open up the lane there for me. You come from a very musical background, a strong rooted, I mean, generations. So that's actually very rare. And I love hearing that, especially in the Black community, when there's a generation of wealth and excellence that's passed down of knowledge, you know. And so with your grandfather being a musician, a singer, and
Mm-hmm.
the lineage that he passed down, and then your father being a trumpeter, right? He played trumpet and
Cornet and
cornet,
flugel.
flugel, okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, your mom being this fabulous singer. My gosh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of that's a pressure. Carmen, that's a lot of pressure. You know, most kids and the millennials now will be freaking out if they had like a Jackson 5 kind of family. Like, how do I live up to that? So
I
how
call
was
them jazz royalty.
jazz
That's what
royalty?
that's right. That's right.
How do
My
you
grand,
feel?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Finish. Go ahead.
I was going to say my grandfather's name is Melvin Moore, and he sang with Lucky Millender's big band in the 40s. He recorded several tunes with Dizzy Gillespie's band,
Mm-hmm.
a tune called Love Me Pretty Baby, which apparently was pretty successful, that he
Love me
recorded
pretty.
with Diz. And he also worked with Ernie Fields' orchestra
Wow.
in the 40s. And yeah, my grandfather was in Oklahoma City. He grew up in Oklahoma City and left his senior year of high school, ran away to New York and performed at the Apollo singing Tura Lura Lura.
Wow.
And has a beautiful falsetto, had a beautiful falsetto voice and beautiful alto, tenor mix in there, but he had a wonderful range. But yeah, and he won. He won on the talent night there at the Apollo, and
Wow.
that's how he got started.
And that's a big deal. People, if you don't, for those that don't know about the Apollo in Harlem, that's a big deal. That is a big deal
Yeah,
in the music community, not just the Black community, but the music community. Like if
absolutely.
you was trying to avoid the Sandman to come and snatch you off that stage, like
That's right.
you was trying to avoid that. So the fact that he won, that meant
Yeah.
that's the start. Your career, that's it. That's the catapult, right?
Hmm.
So then you have this lineage to fall, that the date all the way back. You have this history.
Yeah.
You don't even need to go to a history book because you have it in DNA organically, right? So do you
Yes,
think
indeed.
coming from that background, was that helpful for you to transition into singing and being into music at an early age?
Well, my mother is jazz vocalist Melba Joyce,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad is trumpeter, I should say cornet, I'm sorry, and flugel hornist Bobby Bradford. And my dad plays avant-garde jazz and started with Ornette Coleman. He was in the original band and wrote Ornette's charts. And this is before Don Cherry. And they were all from Texas and grew up in Dallas, Texas, and all went to the same high school. David
Wow.
Newman and my dad and um, Cedar Walton and my mom's from Texas as well. She's from Dallas also.
Wow.
So I definitely got my voice from my grandfather and my mom.
Mm-hmm. And do
And go ahead.
I was just gonna ask because I read somewhere about your mom that she helped organize one of the first women jazz festivals. Was that
Uh-huh.
something that in New York City, right?
Yes, she did.
Man, that's crazy. That's like a Carmen. I'm sorry, that gives me goosebumps just to think about because that's so cool to like, and it's like you're like, how do I want to brag, but it's so natural for you because you was around it, you grew up around it. So
Hmm.
imagine just that history lesson that you was just getting for the low, like not like I had to pay for my history lesson, but man,
Well,
you got it for just like just through straight natural traditional oral tradition of just passing it down through conversation,
Well,
you know.
well, let me say this, that when I was growing up, neither of my parents ever pushed the idea of me becoming a singer or listen to jazz, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up listening to R&B, which is my true love.
Okay.
It is my first love. Now, I love jazz, you know, but I didn't really get into listening to jazz, not with any intent until I was about 16.
Okay.
But I grew up, of course, listening to it all my life. My mother and father played jazz all day on Saturdays and Sundays, and that's what I did my chores to when my brothers and I had chores. There was always, you know, Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Carmen McRae and a lot of Brazilian music, you know,
Right.
Joe Beam and Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett. So I think I was taking all of that in, you
Oh
know,
man.
while also listening to Gladys Knight and Aretha Franklin and Gladys Knight and the Pips and the Temptations and, you know, Stevie Wonder, who I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely loved when I was growing up. And I also loved Shaka Khan very much.
I was about okay. You know, it's funny you say that because I was going to ask you. Okay, who was your it person in the '80s for R&B? Was it Shaka Khan or Anita Baker? Because you have both. Like the way you sing, sometimes when I hear you hit these long notes, I'm like, man, she got that Anita like power, but she got that Shaka Khan like yeah, like that energy, like oh man, it's I don't know. I've always wanted to ask you that question. So it's funny that you mentioned R&B as your
Well, but I started listening to Stevie Wonder though.
okay. So he was
The
the
he
intro.
was the one that I really listened to when I was growing up, and also a lot of Aretha Franklin, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
those long tones are Tony Bennett. That's not Shaka Khan.
Oh, okay, okay.
Those long tones are
That's
from listening to Tony Bennett and Johnny Mathis. You know,
mm-hmm.
that's how I learned how to hold a note, is listening to those two men. You know, singing along with their recordings, and from the beginning of Shaka's career,
Mm-hmm.
we knew who Rufus was,
Rufus, yeah,
the group that she was in.
yeah.
That's when I started listening to her, and she was just amazing, you know.
Oh man, that's
But I didn't listen to I never listened to a lot of Anita Baker. I've always loved her as an artist,
mm-hmm.
but there's something about Shaka Khan that was just, it was like she was the earth.
The earth. Okay, I
She
like that.
was just and it was so soulful. It was just so raw and just it was so funky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't dress that up any
Oh
other
no, you
way
can't.
than
Yeah,
to
no,
say
that's facts.
she was just real, and she was the truth, honey. I
Mm.
mean, and that live performance. I don't know if you've ever seen her live in her early years. Well, you weren't born yet, but her early years when she was with Rufus, good gracious, on stage, it was like, did she really hit that note?
Yeah.
You know, wow, she was amazing, just amazing, and she still is, you know. But yeah, it was Stevie Wonder and all of that, all of the R&B and all of the jazz that I listened to. It was all mixed together, and I still to this day try to take the best of. I hope that I've taken the best of what I've heard.
Well, you most certainly have, you know, from what I've heard and
Mhm,
what from
mhm.
others. And one of the people that we got, the folks got to hear you sing back in January, we did a tribute concert for Nancy Wilson, you know, in tribute to
Yeah.
Nancy Wilson. And I know you had a
Yes.
chance to meet and work with her for a bit. So you've had this opportunity to meet some of our legendary jazz just icons, you know, Sarah Vaughan,
Hmm.
Ella Fitzgerald. So like what was it like meeting them, and what was some of the things that they spoke with you about it, or you got to ask or talk about with them?
Well, the times that I opened for them was when I was on tour as the vocalist with the Count Basie Orchestra. Um, uh, I got to hear them like the first week that I started touring with Mr. Basie
Mm,
and his orchestra. And we started off, the first night I joined them, they were performing with Tony Bennett.
Oh wow.
And
That's
then
an
2
intro.
nights, right. And then 2 nights after that, we worked with Sarah Vaughan. And then after that, we worked with Ella Fitzgerald, and
Oof.
it was just, can you imagine that? And I
I
had just turned 23. I was
wow.
only 23. Now, he heard me sing when I was 22, and when I told him he'd make millions of dollars if he'd hire me, you
Facts.
know, absolutely,
Facts.
absolutely.
How do you,
I
Carmen? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you.
no, it's
I gotta
okay.
ask you this. Like, how did you? Because I remember you telling me the story about when he called you and you
Hmm.
hung up on him,
Right.
and he called you back, and you was like, "Wait a minute, don't hang up. What you doing?" And I can't, Carmen. That is the greatest story. I've told that. I told that story to a group of singers at the school, some of my students, and they laughed. They were like, "She really did that?" And I'm like, "Listen,
Yeah.
for somebody of her caliber to say at that time, listen, this guy's claiming he's Count Basie." like,
Well, I thought it was somebody playing a joke on me because, it took a long time. Do
mm.
you want me to back up and tell what happened?
Oh,
Should I?
please do, because we need to. I would love for them to hear the story, because I remember
Okay.
when you first told me, I was like, really? Did you do that?
Well, first of all, can I say to your students that are watching and anybody that's 22 or 21 or 19, at that age, at the age that you are supposed to be fearless. All the crap that you have talked to your parents and said no and asked for money that you didn't deserve and you said it fearlessly. It's not any different when you're asking someone that you want to hire you.
Mm,
So I was part of the opening act. I wasn't supposed to be on the show. Mr. Basie's office at that time, um, he was with the Willard Alexander Agency. That was the agency that booked his shows.
mm-hmm.
And Dee Askew, the manager now of the Count Basie Orchestra, handled that contract.
Oh wow.
Isn't,
Oh,
isn't that something?
dang, that's crazy. I didn't know you guys knew each other that long.
Yeah, so
Wow.
she was originally Willard Alexander's secretary,
Oh
but
wow.
she booked that job, and the gentleman that was doing the negotiations in Austin that hired Basie, his name is Mike Mordecai. Now this is news that I found out only a few years ago.
Mm,
That they didn't want me on the show. He said, I have a singer that I'd like to appear with the group Passenger. They were the group that were opening,
okay.
right? For the Basie band, Mr. Basie and his orchestra. And they said, Mr. Basie, Dee told them, we already have a singer. We don't want any singers to open the show. And somehow Mike Mordecai insisted, and I guess Dee finally gave in
Wow.
after speaking to Mr. Willard Alexander. And then I was on the show. They asked me if I wanted to do a couple of tunes with them to open the show. But at that time, I didn't realize that Mike Mordecai was the booking agent that he is and was at
Wow.
that time, because he was young and I just thought he was this really great trombone player. I didn't realize he was the one that was changing my life for the rest of my life.
Wow. Making moves.
Yeah. So when I saw Mr. Basie backstage, the band was downstairs in the dressing rooms. And this is the Paramount Theater in Austin, Texas on Congress, which was a big deal, big, beautiful old theater.
Mm-hmm.
And he was already riding on a motorized cart and couldn't make it down the stairs. So he had to stay on the side of the stage because this theater didn't have an elevator.
Okay.
So he and the gentleman that traveled with him, I saw them on the other side of the stage. I said, I'm going over there. I'm going to say hi to him right now. I'm going to tell him I want him to listen to me sing tonight. So
Right.
I went over to him and I said, hi, Mr. Basie. My name is Carmen Bradford, and I'm part of the opening act tonight. And I'd really like for you to hire me. I'm going to go out and sing. I said, I just think you'd make millions of dollars if you'd hire me. I said,
Mm.
and he said, really, millions? And I said, oh, yeah, there's nothing like having a young lady on your show in a lovely dress you know, and he just kind of looked at me like, security, security. So I said, well,
man.
I'm going to go out and sing soon. So will you listen to me? And he said, yeah, honey, I'll listen. And he had this little juicy cigar hanging out of his mouth. And so I went out and I did A Foggy Day, and I sang the tune Lost in the Stars. And so I came off stage and I said, well, what did you think? And he said, I'm going to hire you.
Oh, okay.
And I said, really? I said, really? Because I can go to the dorm right now and pack my stuff and leave with you tonight. He said, no. He said, you just give me your number, honey, and I'll be in touch with you. I said, really, Mr. Basie? Should I go and get a cassette? I have a cassette of me singing rock and roll tunes because that's what I sing.
Okay, rock and roll.
I'll go to the dorm, R&B and rock and roll. I said, I'll go to the dorm and get a cassette so you can keep it and listen to it, you know, so you won't forget who I am. And he said, okay. So I ran to the dorm, you know, and brought back my cassette. And so he kept that. And the show was incredible that night. And I waited 9 months had passed. And by that time, in that 9 months, I moved out of the dorm and moved in with these two wonderful sisters. And by the time it was approaching my birthday, like in the next day or two, and they were giving me a surprise party, and I took it over because they wanted to use plastic plates and paper plates, and I don't like that. So
wait, really?
So I took over the surprise party. Anyway, so that they kept saying to me, I don't think he's not gonna call you. And one of them said, that old man is not gonna call you. I said, yes, he is. Yeah, he's gonna call me. And so the next morning, the day of my party, when I was blowing out my candles at the party, I said, God, please let Count Basie call me tomorrow. And then I blew my candles out. Then I really didn't give it a lot of thought. I mean, I was still holding faith, you know. I wasn't at the mustard seed phase, but I was really knowing that I just didn't have any doubt that he wasn't going to call me. I hadn't understood why it was taking so long. But his wife had passed away. And that was part of the reason why it took so long. And, you know, he was in the middle of burying his wife and, you know, grieving and, you know, dealing with that. And I'm sure other things as well. So the next morning, I sang in this group called Minor Miracle. And I did R&B and some rock and roll with that band, and they were on fire. You know, Passenger was a great instrumental group. They were killing too. And but we were it. Okay. Minor Miracle. We were the stuff.
That was it. Okay.
Yes. So we were on our way. John Mills and I were on our way to. He was the leader of the band. To Santa Fe, New Mexico to do a gig. And just when I was putting my hand on the door, the phone rang. And I went in the house and my roommate said, "Is some old man on the phone?" And I thought it was my grandfather, you know, he was still alive at that time. And so I thought it must be an emergency if he's calling me. So I said, hello. And he said, "Is this the little girl that wants to work with me? This is Count Basie." And I paused like I'm doing now. And I said, "Otis, this is not funny." I said, "You know, I've been waiting for Count Basie to call me. Why would you? Don't play on the phone like that." And I hung up the phone. So I went back out to the car, was getting ready to get in the car. And my roommate said, "It's that old man again on the phone." And I said, "Oh my goodness." So I went back in and I said, "Hello." And he said, "Listen here, this is Mr. Basie. Now, if you hang up on me again, I'm going to call another little girl. You understand? Don't hang up." I said, "Oh, Mr. Basie, I'm so sorry." I said, "I thought you were my cousin Otis. How are you?" He said, "I'm fine, dear. How are you?" I said, "I've just been waiting so long for you to call." And he said, "I'm sorry you've had to wait so long." He said, "But how are you doing?" I said, "I'm good, just, you know, waiting for you, you know." And he said, "Well, somebody's going to be calling you." I said, "Well, when is that?" He said, "It's going to be very soon." I said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes, very soon." I said, okay, well, how much does it pay? Like that.
I ain't
And
even got
he
the gig
said, what do you care? I said, I don't. My dad makes me ask things like that. If I have to babysit or something, or if I'm doing a gig, I have to ask, how much it is. He said, well, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out
Oh,
when you
that's
get here.
beautiful. Wow.
And so he said, well, I'll see you soon. I said, okay. So that was a Monday. And then Wednesday, I got a call from Sonny Cohn, trumpeter, that was in the band. And also he was the road manager at that time for about 30 years, I think. And he said, this is Sonny Cohn, and I'm the manager of the Count Basie Orchestra. Is this the little girl that's wants to sing with us? And I said, yes. And he said, well, we'll see you on Friday. I'll have a ticket for you at the airport. So just give them your name. And I said, Friday? He said, yes, Friday. He said, just bring your little beaded gowns. And I said, well, I wear Levi's and cowboy boots on stage. I don't have any beaded gowns. And he said, okay, well, bring your big band charts. I said, I sing R&B and rock and roll. And he said, okay, well, just put a little rope around your suitcase and we'll see you on Friday. So
oh, wow.
Friday came, and I borrowed some of my mother's beaded gowns, and my parents were just really thrilled,
I
mean, they were just, we were all just kind of in shock. And so Friday came, and I went to the airport, and about 30 of my college friends came to the airport. They met me at the airport to see me off. And so when I went to the ticket counter, they said, there's no ticket for you. I don't have a reservation for you or a ticket. So I thought, okay, this is really a horrible joke, and I almost started, they said, don't cry, just wait a minute. And so they all just kind of disappeared, and they went to the ATM and bought me a round trip ticket to Boston.
Oh, wow.
Which is where where I was supposed to meet the band. And so they said, well, Carmen, if it's a joke, then you just come on back. And I thought, honey, I ain't coming back. Right. I'm gonna find Mr. Basie and his orchestra. This cannot be a joke, So I got to Boston, and I had my itinerary with me, and they had a reservation for me at the hotel at the Boston Park Plaza. And they had these giant rooms on the front side of the hotel. My room was on the front side, and it was huge. The band had not arrived yet. And I said, surely they're going to be coming down the street in separate limousines. So I'm leaning out the window looking for separate limousines, right? And then there's this big stankin' Greyhound bus with fumes coming out of it. And it was older. And it stopped in front of the hotel. And I said, well, surely they're not in that. And then they started filing off. They started getting off the bus, all these older Black gentlemen. I said, that's them. So I ran downstairs to the lobby, and Mr. Basie had gotten off last. And by the time I got to the lobby, he was in there. I said, hi, Mr. Basie, I'm here. And he said, yes, you are. I said, well, how are you? And he said, I'm good. How are you? I said, well, there wasn't a ticket, so my friends bought my ticket, but I'm good. He said, oh, well, Sonny will reimburse you for that. I said, well, what are we going to do now? And he said, we are going to check in the hotel.
Right. Like, let me.
Okay. Just young and foolish, right? So
wow. He
said, you meet us back down here in the lobby at 5:30. Okay. And you and I will get on the bus last. And I said, okay. So the band, it was 5:30. The band got on the bus, and Mr. Basie and I got on, and he stood up in the middle next to the driver and said, gentlemen, this is our new little girl. And then he said, what's your name, honey? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
He said, what's your name, honey? I said, Carmen. He said, this is our new little girl, Carmen. And so then he took his finger like this, and he went all around the bus and made eye contact with everybody, even all the guys in the back, and came to the front and said, don't even think about
it. I hear that.
Because I was a baby,
Wow.
Yeah, so I sat in front of Mr. Basie, and he talked to me like I was about 7 or 8 years old. It was great. And spoiled me rotten.
Man, you know what's crazy about hearing this story is that the opportunity, like I tell my students all the time, like you got to learn how to seize opportunities. Like they would always tell me, like, Professor, you would always talk about how you would play these gigs. You put your like I told them about the first gig I ever did. I made $50 and I played for 4.5 hours for $50.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the guys that I played with were way more experienced than I was, and they were the
Mm-hmm.
most respected cats in the city. Even though I was green and young, and I didn't know no better, I was 18. I was just like excited to play bass. But
Uh-huh.
what they taught me was the one thing they told me. They said, "Man, if you come prepared, you'll always get the gig."
That's it.
They told me that 18 years old, and I told my students, I'll never forget that. That was knowledge, jewel free, that they gave me for free, right?
Yeah.
And look
Mm-hmm.
how much that benefited me in my professional life later down the road. So for
Right.
Basie to say, you know what, I'm gonna hire this little girl. I'm gonna take a chance. There's something that I hear in her in her that she don't see yet, but I'm gonna get it out of
Oh
her.
no. Oh no, no,
You,
honey. I
you know
saw
what
it.
I'm saying?
No, no.
Oh, you
No, you
saw
don't
it.
understand.
Oh,
No, you don't
please.
understand.
Mm. Oh,
I already, listen, let me tell you something. This business is about creative visualization as well. I knew that I wanted to do this at 4 years old. There was
wow.
no doubt. I was very, very determined and very focused, which is what you have to be if you're trying to do anything in
Right,
your life.
right.
That takes a lot of study and a lot of focus and a lot of creativity. You know, it was no accident. You know, and I was singing back then. You know, I wasn't. This wasn't a let me take a chance on her. No, honey, I was
Oh,
ready
you was ready.
because you have to
That's
stay ready.
yeah,
That's why I had you listen to that recording that we can work it out with me doing
man.
that R&B too, because I, you know, what was interesting to me listening to that after all these years, I just turned 60 years old on July 19th. Now we're talking, I was 22 years old, but I was really, really focused. It's all I ever wanted to do.
Mm,
It's all I ever wanted to do.
mm, that's
And
powerful.
you have to make a decision, as you have clearly,
Yeah,
to play as well as you play. You have to stay ready. You have to be prepared, and that is endless hours of
yep.
alone time, being alone and getting it, because nobody can do this for you, can
No, no, they can't. You got
they?
to put in the work. You got to put in the work. Which,
Woo,
which,
man.
which. Let me ask you this. So, in the
Mm,
time that we're in the space that we have, a little bit of time, because we might have some questions later, and I know people like to ask questions to the guests. Um,
okay.
I always ask, and my viewers that are watching this, you guys already know this, that I always ask my guests to pick 3 records, soul records. Now, I'm starting to learn as I do this show more that I need to make it a little more broad because soul music isn't not we're not talking about the genre or the specific subcategory of soul music, but there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
music that really hits your soul and hits you a certain way that you're just like, man, like
Yeah,
so it ain't just soul music, right? So I'm starting to
right.
understand that. But um Carmen, in your three records that you chose, no, you chose some killing ones. A matter of fact, this first one, okay, Aretha Franklin. This is now the 3 words to everybody that I have my artist choose or the guest artist choose is life, freedom, and perseverance. Those are the 3 keywords that I give them, and they have to pick a song that matches one of those 3 words. So for life, Carmen picked Aretha Franklin's "Ain't No Way" off the album Lady Soul. Now, that's heavy. That's a heavy record. All that earlier Aretha stuff in the set, those were like really politically heavy records, man. Like from like the late '60s and the early '70s. Like Aretha was it. She was it. I mean, she still is it, but she was it. So tell me about that record. Why did you pick that record for life? Like what makes that one?
Well, first of all, you know, the fact that once you mention the word soul, you know, like I said, my first love, I love jazz. Don't get me wrong. Don't send any questions in or make statements saying, hey, she doesn't even like jazz. That's not true.
Right.
I love what I do. You know, I make my living singing jazz, but my roots, what brought me to jazz is listening to Aretha Franklin. And mind you, my mother was going out on the weekends in these beautiful beaded gowns and these cascade hair pieces that attach to your hair. Ask your mama about those. She'll know what I'm talking about.
All right.
and eyelashes and she brought home this Aretha Franklin album and oh my goodness. It stirred my soul. And also that's when I started working on my vibrato. My mother said I would just shake my head for the entire album, trying to have vibrato, just to, you know, not working it from my voice, just shaking my head to get to it. But then I listened to it for hours and hours. And I still do that when I fall in love with an album. Forget about it. I'm playing it for 5 months.
Got to. No,
over and over and over again in case I miss something. You know what I mean? Do you listen to albums like that?
Oh man. Well, okay, so my daughter's middle name is Asia. And Asia, I tell her part of it is part of her grandmother's name, but the other part of it is Steely Dan's record Asia. That was the first album. Yeah. That album, my uncle Didi used to wear that record out, man, when I was a kid. I mean, like wear that. And I heard the song Black Cow, and then when I got to high school, there was this rap group, Lord Tariq and Peter Guns. They had this remake of that song Black Cow. And that was the first time I heard hip hop integrate samples from like and that's when I started understanding how music recycles, like how one generation can influence the next and how they take pieces of it and then mesh it together. And so
same church, different pew, honey. That's what that is.
Yep, exactly. Oh, I know that term. Yep, I know that term. And that's
same church.
And that's what Aretha did. Like when I listen to a song like Rocksteady, man, like that feel. And then I think about Shaka Khan coming out later, you know, with Rufus, like that which helped her grow into the person that she became. And so I think about influences, and Aretha is definitely one of those folks, which leads me to your second choice, which you mentioned earlier, who's one of your favorite influences and actually influenced you to go into that R&B realm, Mr. Stevie Wonder. And you chose Love's in Need of Love Today. That whole album, Song in the Key, like that whole record is by far one of the greatest. That has to go as one of the most iconic records of all time.
It's a masterpiece. Yeah, is what it is.
That, like Off the Wall, like when you got these iconic records that are just, they can hold their own through the hands of time. And what made you pick that song? You picked that song for freedom.
Because the lyrics of that song just speak for itself, you know. Even when that album came out, things were going on in the world that were just horrific, you know. Right. And it's so appropriate right now. I just had to choose that. It's just across the board and across the world, it just fits. And he is just our treasure, our national treasure. He's the world's treasure, you know.
And we've lost so many.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said we've just lost so many national, treasures. So,
but he brought so much to me musically. It's difficult for me to express how he just changed my life. Every note that he sang and the lyrics, every lyric that he wrote, and he's just an incredible human being.
And you know, my mom, when I was about 7 years old, my mom introduced me to that album. And she would play it back in the day. Now here's the thing, I was born in the 80s, so I was born in the mid 80s, so I'm old enough to where I remember what an 8-track was. Like I remember my mom had that huge 8-track in her little station, and that thing you had to let it play all the way through to flip it,
Right.
and then you got to play it halfway just to get it to the spot where you want to listen to the other song that you wanted to repeat because you ain't have no.
Right.
I remember all that, right? And I remember
Okay.
she had an 8-track of that
Mm-hmm.
which later then we switched to cassette, and
Mm-hmm.
uh man, just the sound organically, like the orally, the sound. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, how's this guy? Dang, like, how's he hearing this? And I remember asking, and my mom was a singer. My mom was a gospel singer. I don't know if I remember.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
my mom opened up for some people, man. BBCC Winans, Yolanda Adams. Like, she was back in the day.
Wow.
She was heavy. She was heavy in the gospel world back in the day. And
Wow.
she even at one point she was managing Rerun from Good Times. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
when he was part of the Black Circus. He was with that circus that was traveling through Paris, and
Mm-hmm.
when they
Mm-hmm.
came to the States, my mom and one of his good friends at the time, they linked up, and that was that. So, I've had my share of introductories and stuff, but Stevie Wonder was all I heard him everywhere we went. My mom played him, and so that
That's all
album,
anybody played.
yeah, that album, his music is still, even Marvin Gaye, like their music, Donny Hathaway, which leads me to your next, and my last person here, guys like them, they have such impactful music and meanings that it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy that in the times that we're in now, it still hold its own. And someday we'll all be free by Donny Hathaway is the perfect ending of Perseverance, and that was your last choice. Tell us about
Mm-hmm.
that. What made you choose that tune?
Um, because the lyrics are about perseverance. That's why I chose it.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on to the world as it spins around. Just don't let, oh geez, I'm having a senior moment. Get yourself in gear, keep your stride. It's a bunch of things, a bunch of lines in that song that are so appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
appropriate for perseverance. But and he's incredible, and he was a friend of my mom's, and he used to come to our house for parties when I was a little girl.
Man, wait, hold on. You wait, hold on. Skirt. Yeah, bring that back. Say that again. Wait, so wait, y'all, he came over. Y'all had.
Mm-hmm.
Man, okay.
Yeah,
Carm that.
I didn't know who he was though. I didn't realize
Wow,
who he was, but yeah.
wow, man, that's wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's Carmen. I love hearing your stories because it's so inspiring to know someone who has lived such a blessed life and has lived to see just the transitions of music, you know, and it's in its purest form, like having those moments on stage with Tony Bennett or doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
with Nancy Wilson or with the Count Basie Orchestra, those moments, like you can't I can watch it on a YouTube video and I can
Right.
kind of try to channel that experience, but to be the person there experiencing it, that's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, man. So Carmen, you are a blessing to us, and we love you, man, for everything that you have contributed and given us, to the music community.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
these particular songs that you chose, though I've heard others pick the same similar music, but everyone has a different meaning and perspective behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
and I really value the fact that you have a personal connection to each of these artists, and you have something that you can pull from that's influenced, that's helped you shape where you've gone now. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kudos, man. I all hell.
I have to tell you, it's funny you should say that.
Mm.
That I have a connection with all three because I sang at Aretha's 50th birthday party with the Basie band.
Wow.
And I'll never forget her coming to this table that was assigned to the band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she had a huge party. And so she said, so you're the singer? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, so what are you doing tonight? What'd you prepare? What you singing for me?
Uh-huh.
I just kind of sat there a minute and stared at her because I really wanted to say, I've just loved you since I was 4, you know. But I told her all of the tunes that I was going to sing, which were only, maybe 3 or maybe 5, I think. And she said, is that all? And Frank Foster was sitting at the table too. And he said, well, our vocalist, she said, she needs to sing more than that. That's not enough.
Oh, wow.
But before I told her what I was going to sing, I said, well, none of yours. I'm not singing any of your music. That's for sure. Because I had some of her arrangements. I had arrangements written of some of her tunes, but there's no way I was going to perform those. So,
wow.
But it was just nice to be that close to her. And then she asked me a lot of questions about being on the road and how long had I been singing with the band. And so we got to chat a minute. And with Stevie Wonder, I got to meet him because my mom sang background for Smokey Robinson, pardon me, as well. Mm-hmm. And she sang background for Cat Stevens and not Def Leppard, but somebody else, I can't remember. But anyway, I met Steve on one occasion with my mom, and then I auditioned for him about a week before my parents shipped me off to college in the middle of the night. And I didn't. This was when he was recording Hotter Than July.
Oh,
it was just a
classic.
Great album.
Classic.
Great album. So I was really trying to get in his background section, but he didn't. He didn't budge. He didn't budge. He had some great singers. He had some great singers anyway, so he didn't need my voice. And then we performed at the Songwriters Hall of Fame Awards together. I went on before him, and I reminded him of my audition. And he has an incredible memory. I can't share it with you. When we have a glass of tea, I'll share with you what happened.
I got you.
At the audition, but I can't share that. That'll be in my book.
I got you. But I do want you to share one thing before. I had 2 questions for you because I had some audience folks send in some questions, and
okay.
So I have them right here in front of me. But I did want to ask you this one question. What was it like, and I asked you this earlier, but I wanted to ask you with the audience, what was it like meeting Satchmo himself, Mr. Louis Armstrong? What was at the age and being exposed to an icon? That's the root to the gumbo, man. That's the man.
Well, my mother was his vocalist at the time. It was 1964. Pardon me. And my dad brought us to hear her sing. Brought us to the gig, to my twin brothers and I, to the gig to watch the show, and see our mom perform with Louis Armstrong. And so we all had on our little Easter clothes, and at the end of the show, we went into the dressing room and we took pictures, and my brothers are actually on that photograph also, but we just use the portion of me and Pops.
Right.
And so I still remember him, Brandon. I remember him picking me up and putting me on his knee. And what he said to me, I still remember all of that. And I remember his hands being really fat, very meaty, not fat, but very meaty and thick, each finger, And he was so sweet, and he held me like I was a little doll, like I was a piece of china, And on the photograph, and you guys can go to the Louis Armstrong Museum and see the photograph. But my hand is placed on top of his hand. That's no accident. I did that on purpose.
So you can show
I've been in this business a long time, honey. 4 years old. I knew whose lap I was sitting on. Okay. So there was no accident that my little tiny hand was sitting there like that.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's funny. Oh man, I saw that picture and I was just like, wow, Carmen was destined. It was already destined.
Absolutely.
Pops pick you up and hey, what you gonna be when you grow up? Oh, that's so cool, Carmen. That's so cool. Well, thank you. I want to say first off, this has been like one of the best shows I've done. I've had so much fun this evening. Like you just chatting with you. It just seems so natural. You are a gem to our community, to our life. I mean,
Thank
gosh,
you, dear.
you have really, and you've changed me, man. Like I remember when you gave me this opportunity, back in January to come and play with you at the conference, like just to be in that space with people who I not only look up to musically, but I have studied and I've tried to get in that circle and I've tried to just put myself in the space just not even to be known, just to absorb the inspiration, just absorb it, just to be in that mist. And I got a little taste
Oh.
of it, man, and it just was so inspiring. So I'm looking forward to more of it, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting back on stage with you and doing some more performances. I want to ask these two questions though before
Okay.
um,
Okay.
my first question is actually from one of your bandmates,
Oh.
Mr. Robert Boone. Boone, shout out to Boone.
His name is not Boone. His name is Booney.
Oh,
Booney baby.
Booney, see you. Carmen, you messed up because I hope he watching this because he knows I'm gonna text him about that later. What's up, Booney?
I love him.
That's
Isn't
my
he
guy.
wonderful?
That is my guy. That is my
My
guy.
goodness, what a brilliant drummer. I
That
mean,
is my
he's
guy.
just on fire. What is his question?
So Rob asked, what is the most memorable Basie gig that you've ever done?
Um,
That's a hard question.
no, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
Not at all.
Okay.
My first performance with Mr. Basie, that was the most memorable because I had my arrangement. It took 3 weeks for my arrangements to be written.
Mm-hmm.
And so one was A Foggy Day and the other one was Our Love Is Here to Stay. And the introductions were so similar that I sang the opposite
Oh, wow.
on the show. And I realized it just a few bars after I was in. And he realized it as well. And I looked over at Mr. Basie and like, help me, what do I do? And he went like this. I'm still singing the wrong lyrics, and singing another song. And he went like this. And then smiled at me, and then I just paused a minute and then I got on track and started singing, the other tune. But I would say that was my most memorable.
Professionalism. So that's how you stay within the show. You don't stop. You just
Hey.
keep going. That's
Hey,
right.
man. Yeah. And the most terrifying.
And the most And then, of course, the lovely and talented Emily. Of course, I met Emily through work. Amelie. I'm sorry. Okay,
that's all right.
If she watching, please forgive me because she
is watching. I'm sure she's watching.
So she has a very, very, really great question here.
Okay.
So, what advice would you give to inspiring vocalists during these trying times, who are trying to create relationships with already established musicians and trying to get their foot in the door of the music business? Since we can't attend concerts and reach out to artists that way, what are your thoughts, Miss Carmen?
I think this is a perfect time to approach anybody you want to approach. I think it's important to go on, even if you're singing to a track, to make some videos of you singing, create your own show as you have. Ask that artist that you absolutely adore to be a guest on your show. This is the time to, you can't be shy about it right now. And it's just a great opportunity. Everybody wants to be on somebody's show right now. You know what I mean? To just keep your your face out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let people know you're still hanging in there and everything. So I think it's just a perfect time to say, hi, I'd like for you to be on my show. My name is Amelie Henman, and I'm also a vocalist, and I have a show called,
And that's, it's funny you say that because back in April, the end of April, I came to terms, Carmen, that I was like, you know what, this thing ain't gonna go nowhere. I'm gonna be stuck in my house. Both of my kids are home with me. Daycare is closed, so I'm already going
Right.
cabin fever fatigued in my house with my kids. But
Right.
but now me and my kids are extra close now because of it. So it was a blessing
Right.
in disguise. But then
Absolutely.
musically, I couldn't play with no one. We fell off the face of the earth. I haven't seen no musicians in months, right? And
Yeah.
so I was one day looking at this interview that Max Roach was doing. And the
Mm-hmm.
gentleman that was interviewing him, the questions he was asking were so hip. I was like, man, I wish I could do something like that. And then my
Mm-hmm.
wife, who is my messenger, my queen, the lady who always put me in check. Shout out to you, Angelica. I hope you watch. I love you, baby. Uh, she she tells me, she's like, you like to talk. Why don't you do something with your friends and just talk?
Mm-hmm.
And I took that literal because I was like, dang, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of this web show. And now I've asked you, like you just said, I reached out to you, and I reached out
Mm-hmm.
to Marty and Jeff and Dan and all these guys that I know. And that helps expand stuff. So you're absolutely right. And I'm glad that you said that. And and singers, and also singers who are watching this as well, I want you guys to know something. We really appreciate it, like as an instrumentalist, we really appreciate singers who actually are comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that means that you are in that moment, you'll know what you want to do. And I learned, Carmen, that when I met with you, that you're very comfortable and you're very assertive and you know what it is that you want. If you don't like this, you're gonna say it and you'll correct it. And you actually know because you can correct it in the moment. And that's a lot of people can't do that, you know. And I love that and I value that about you, that you just take command of when you're putting on a show, like when you do your Ella show, like that's serious work. You have to really know what it is that you want to do and accomplish out of that. And
Mm-hmm.
that gives a certain comfortability as for the instrumentalist to say, man, I love that. I'm gonna make sure I don't piss her off.
Oh
Right?
no,
Not like, no,
but
not
you
in a
know
bad way,
what?
but you're not in a bad way. No, I don't mean that in a bad way. But like we as jokingly, like we just it's like whoa, she's about her business. Like ooh, yes, I want to make sure I hold it down.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. If I don't know what I want, who am I supposed to be asking? If it's my show,
That's
you know what
true.
I'm saying?
That's very true.
And I realize that a lot of instrumentalists and vocalists can be a bit shy about things like that, but you have to speak up.
Yeah.
You have to speak up.
Yeah.
How are people going to know? And instrumentalists need to know that you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
It is everything. You have to speak up, and it's okay. Not everybody's going to love you, but if you're swinging, they will.
That's right.
You know,
That's
the
right.
bottom line is you came here to perform, and so let's see it. What you got?
That's right.
Yeah,
Well, thank
fearless.
you. Well, let me ask you this, Carmen.
Mm, mm.
Where can people find your music? How can they get a hold of you? Are you available for any type of virtual stuff, master classes? Or what's I want to make sure people can find you, so I want to give you that chance to get your plug in. Take it. I really want you to just go. Let them know. Let them know.
I'm on Facebook. You can leave me a message on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram uh, at Texas Girl Music. And I have a website, carmenbradford.com. You can leave me a message there. And I'm getting ready well, we've got a little ways to go, but San Francisco Conservatory of Music's RGM program, we're not going back until October,
Oh wow.
early October. So
Oh wow.
I'm teaching, and I am focusing on a project right now, a recording, finally an album. It's been a long time since I've had a new album.
Oh wow.
And I'm not going to say too much about it right now, but there'll be videos online. When the videos start popping, you'll know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. I love
I
that.
have to say thank you so very much for having me, Brandon. I'm so proud of you, and this is perfect timing, you know, and this is a great show and continued success.
I appreciate that, Carmen. Thank you. I'm gonna look back on this and I'm gonna say, wow, this was a good point in my life. You know, I can enjoy this moment. You know, so definitely enjoyed this interview. And also want to say one last thing too for those that don't know. And I had it here. I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, uh, you did this album. What I was gonna ask you earlier about with Shelly Bird.
Hmm.
And I remember after I met you,
Home with You
Home
is
with
the
You.
album.
Yep.
Hmm.
It's a duo record with you guys. And that,
Right.
man, it was it my shining hour.
Uh-huh.
I love that arrangement. And I love
Thank you.
and I love the title track too. That's it's an interesting like chord progression on that tune.
Yeah.
And it's just the way, I don't know, I was listening to it the other day and I was like, wow, this is a great record. Like, this is a great example that you can give a vocalist that wants to know, like, how do you have that interaction with another person as a vocalist without bass or drums, without the rhythmic component, when you just have the harmonic stance. And I think that right there, having that atonement is like that connection, that intertwinement between the vocal and the piano. Man, that's a
Hmm.
great deal. So I love that record. I hope everybody who's listening, Home with You, please. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. Check it out. It's a great record. I just wanted to plug that out. I love that record.
Can I just say that that connection with Shelley Bird and I, we used to work together all the time, and he's a genius accompanist.
Mm-hmm.
You
Wow.
know, I just, he's a brilliant, brilliant musician, and we worked together a long time. It's a long fit, you know, and what is going on and what I'm hearing when I do a duo situation with any instrumentalist.
Mm-hmm.
I hear an entire band when I'm singing that. And Shelley plays so much, he fills so much up. He sounds like a band, doesn't he?
Right. Yeah, he does. Yeah, it does. Even his accompaniment in his left
Oh
hand,
yeah,
man, his bass. I was like, okay.
he's a monster player. He
Yeah.
truly is. But I love doing concert dates with just piano and voice. I love that
Well,
because there's nobody to hide behind. You can work on your
right,
phrasing. You know, you're very exposed there, you know,
right,
and I think it's a real test and a real testament to singers that do that, because
right.
you really have to put your big girl panties on, honey. You can't come in with no cotton. You understand?
Right. No, that thing gonna shrink.
That's right.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you guys for tuning in this evening. This has been a wonderful episode, wonderful show. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. The official playlist is also on there as well, and you will see Carmen's entries will be added tomorrow. So if you go in there tomorrow, you'll see that her three choices will be added to the playlist. Next week, I have my dear friend, my homie, NY, one of the leadest bass players on the scene. I mean, this guy's been traveling, playing with all the who's who before all of this, Mr. Alexander Claffey. So I'll be talking to him next week. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Again, this is Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. Carmen Bradford. Give it up for Carmen. Yay.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Carmen, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you
Thank you
too.
so much. And
My
everybody, y'all stay
pleasure.
blessed. Wear your mask, social distance. Please be safe. Please stay healthy. Take care. Talk to y'all later.